Alright, I got myself a dog shit expensive build. Wanted to try to do a massive AoE Shock Nova build. I had more AoE than this, but the damage wasn't good enough. And with this build, I can do two variants. Cast it on myself or throw that Nova. Throw that Nova is pretty nice, but I like being able to have all this extra mana and regeneration and all that stuff. So I'm going to pop that on there for now. I'm going to run both versions so you can see it. It is a terrible build. Absolutely awful. I kind of hate it across the board. It was very, very expensive. I have these guys, which was, I think, a total of 16 divines to be able to get the Inquisitor's passive. I have a pretty badass Watcher's Eye, which has corrupted blood and then concentrated ground effects linger, and then 46% increased lightning damage while affected by wrath. I'm running some mana small cluster jewels, and then a reduced reservation of wrath, lightning, 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 and a pretty basic tree, just kind of pathing around, getting mana, getting energy shield, getting crit, and it's kind of dog shit. Let's pop a map. Let's do one of these bosses so I could fail at a boss. Let's do a Hydra. 40% reduce extra damage from critical strikes, so my damage is going to be diminished pretty significantly. I'm running Anomalous Shock Nova so the ring can deal damage as if it does 100% more damage for shocking. Increased critical damage support, increased critical strike support, inspiration, anomalous intensify, and spell echo. I save those portals at the entrance in case I get a divine shrine. Then I run back and go get that portal, and then I get more divines from that. I got basically all of the auras. Zealotry, Wrath, Grace, Determination, Discipline. The problem with this build isn't so much the damage. I think I'm like 1.5 million, maybe. The problem is I just die. I thought it was spell damage, and it might still be with spell damage. I have no spell suppression, and it seems like not having spell suppression just isn't an option unless you have like 85 maximum elemental resistances. Elemental damage in this game is pretty bonkers. Running a Determination as a cast because I have so much mana that I can do it that way. I just bought a new one because I didn't have enough strength for a level 20, so I had to buy a level 1. I'm just leveling that up. It's kind of alright, but I'm playing pretty passively, and when you get into any kind of harder map, you're just gonna die. Over and over and over again. Like, I'm not dying now just yet, but I will. Just give it time. You'll die. I do really like Shock Nova, but I feel it's missing something to make it better. And I don't know what... Maybe it's missing a Vol version of Shock Nova. It just seems like this skill has been neglected. Now, obviously, there's better variants of this build. Ones that use cock. But I don't want to use any cock. I want to be able to cast it. There's other skills that you can use that are much better. Ball Lightning seems to feel the best. Obviously, Spark feels pretty good too, but there's better Spark builds out there. But Ball Lightning feels pretty badass. I'm not using it now because my chest piece is so hard to roll green sockets on it, and it's super expensive to do so. And I hate this build so much that I'm just excited to sell all the gear and start a different build that I hate less. With Intensify and this little ring that I got here, the damage does get kind of high, but it's nothing special. Chaos damage is my ultra weakness. Chaos damage hits my mana before my life because of my chest piece, and right now I'm only at 3,000 mana. It might be a better variant of this build to not reserve any mana. And to have, there we go, a nice little death. Hit 2 balls, that was more of a mechanical death than any other kind of a death. But I am rocking so many auras. Most of those are at like level 2, level 1. It's basically, I can hit this now, a failed project. I give it an F in terms of how much I like it. Pretty much a failed project. I could do other things with this build to make it less of a failure, and I think I'm going to do that. I have to save up for the projectile ring. I think I'm just going to turn this into a ball lightning where the projectiles return to me, but I need to save up for that ring. See me get stunned there. I'm not immune to stuns. It's just pretty trash across the board. It's a alright farmer, but it's too slow to be a T16 farmer. Movement speed too slow. I got haste on, and it feels like I don't have haste on. Energy shield regeneration is kind of trash. It's doing too many things at once. Because I'm going crit to ignore elemental resistances, and I'm going mana, and I do want a little bit of life to get some AoE from the passive of the Hierophant. It's just doing so much that it does nothing well. And as you see there, it's just so susceptible to death. Now to improve it, you could get a Aegis Aurora and go a whole block route, but you're not going to be doing a lot of damage that way. Your damage is going to be highly limited once you grab that Aegis Aurora, because you need so many extra passives to get that block down. I think mana stackers are in a pretty bad state in terms of their damage for cost. I was hoping that mana stacking gear would be super inexpensive, and it was pretty inexpensive for some of it, but to get the really high-end mana stacker stuff, it is very expensive. Some of the gear is very expensive. Now you could go Indigon on here and do a lot of damage with Indigon, but because a lot of your survivability relies on having mana to hit the chaos damage when the chaos damage hits, if you're using Indigon, your mana regeneration has to be so high, and my mana regeneration isn't high enough for an Indigon build, so I have to do a bunch of extra shit to pump up that mana so Indigon will work. I'm constantly being slowed down by everything. Constantly being slowed down by everything. I don't even know what's hitting me that's slowing me down, but I'm constantly being slowed down by shit. Super annoying. Compared to my Trickster build, this feels like trash. My Trickster feels like a 10 out of 10 build in comparison to this garbage. I am missing an aura, Arctic armor. So I ran a map. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. The weapon's pretty solid. Lightning damage to spells, 34% cast speed, critical increased critical strike chance for spells, crit multi, 130 mana, +1 to all lightning spell skills. So this is a pretty good mace. I think I bought it for a divine. Obviously, you can do a little better. You can't do too much better for a mana stacking build. I bought this helmet with 24% increased Shock Nova area of effect, and I crafted it myself and got pretty lucky with the craft. Mana, life, resistance, 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 energy shield, and stun and block recovery. Stun and block recovery is pretty important because, as I said, I get stunned, and if it wasn't for the Brine King, I'd be stun locked permanently. Now, I could use the boots that makes stun hit my energy shield instead of my life, and give me a little bit of mana reservation and a lot of mana, but these are just overall better. Being able to get brittle ground for bosses, stun threshold, 8% spell suppress, even though that doesn't do anything. But the most important is the 54 dex. That dex is pretty important to be able to get your character up. Now, to make a build like this that's much better, someone linked it in my chat. This guy's build is much better. Obviously, he's using a Squire, which is crazy expensive, and an Inagon, and a hammer, doing cast while channeling with Anomalous Shock Nova, just like me, and Mana Bond. But his is way, way, way more expensive, and probably not even that good. I mean, it's probably pretty solid, and he is level 100, and I'm 91, so he's got 9 extra levels of skills to pop in there. So if you want a build like this, this is probably the better route to go. I was mostly just exploring, trying to do a self-cast Nova. But now I'm going to throw that Nova. So I'll just run the same boss. I think I had 2 of those. I'm going to throw that Nova. Let's run another one. Reduce block, fine. Reduce armor, fine. Increase save effect, fine. Desecrated ground. Is desecrated ground chaos damage? I think desecrated ground is chaos damage, so that'll be a good test. So you can see the chaos hit my mana instead of my life, and I'll probably die from it. Being able to throw it, you can play it very passively and just toss them Novas, but the AoE is decreased. The Dream was just like massive AoE. I think mana tossing is the only way, Nova tossing is the only way to really play this build. Toss that Nova. But when you're Nova tossing, you're still going to die from the blue enemies from Eater of Worlds. These guys. They'll spawn behind you, and they'll shoot you all at the same time, and it's game over. More excited for my next build than I am for this build, because this build has just been frustrating basically the entire time. I did get 2 different divine shrines while leveling it up, so it almost paid for itself. I got 1 divine shrine that gave me 4 divines when you kill the boss, and then I got another divine shrine that gave increased chance to drop divines. However, it was pretty much near the end of the map, and I think I only got 4 divines. So total, I gained 8 divines leveling this bad boy up, and I've spent probably 35 to 40 divines buying and trying different gear. The gear I have now is not 30 to 40 divines, but I bought a lot of shit to test this out. And another thing about this build is see that chaos damage? Well, I don't actually, that wasn't chaos damage because I still have mana. Chaos damage should hit my mana. It's like, for this build, you're always just, you feel good. You're like, man, I'm good. My defenses are solid. I'm not getting damaged. I'm not really taking a lot of shit until you just are dead. So there's no middle ground. I mean, that kind of happens a lot with this game, but this build feels very much like there's no middle ground. You're either alive or dead. So another way to play this build is just to go pure offensive. Ignore all defenses and just throw that Nova offensively. I think it might be pretty good for the league mechanic, but obviously be better to do like a Nova Totems So if I had to convert this to a totem build, it'd be a much better build.
I must have time to gather my will.
Now I wonder how much, just how much that ignore enemies' elemental resistance is a benefit. So I could just get a conductivity curse ring and just curse everything with conductivity. And I'll be penetrating a lot of their elemental resistances. So that might be a better option because then I can get 2 more jewels. And those jewels are pretty useful for this build because you can get a lot of stuff. And one good thing about this build is Watcher's Eyes are super strong for it because of Watcher's Eye you get life, mana, and energy shield. And you use all 3 of those. So Watcher's Eyes are a little stronger for this build. See, like my energy shield just isn't really going down very often. And it's not the grace. My dodge chance is only like 50%. Which is kind of how this build doesn't work. Or does work, however you want to call it. I think in order to get survivability, you with this current setup and my current defenses, you probably need 8 to 9,000 energy shield and 8 to 9,000 mana. And that investment is way too great for how much I am not enjoying this build. Now when I convert it to a ball lightning build, it's probably going to be way more enjoyable. Probably have more good things to say about it. The sigil's pretty cool with this build because when you pop, forget what it's called, your added lightning thing, Arcane Cloak, you basically pump that up a bunch. And then you're also popping the Determination. And you're getting a lot of mana spent, so you really rack up those stacks for Sigil of Power. Because you have to spend 461 mana while in the area. And my Shock Nova is only 19 mana. But this right here is 1700, and this is 75% or 65% of my mana. So I basically cast that, and you're at max stack. I'm going to try to run it without Arctic Armor. Arctic Armor seemed really good because I'm always holding still when I'm casting. And that's 22% reduced physical damage taken and a bunch of extra cold damage taken. Seems solid, but having the more mana might be better. It's hard to say. First time building a mana stacker. I just died from talking while playing there. First time building a mana stacker. Don't think I'll ever do it again. Didn't enjoy leveling it. Didn't enjoy playing it. Didn't enjoy gearing for it. Basically, it's been a huge waste of time and failure. Now, usually my waste of times, they're really fun. My Project Chaos was a lot of fun. I enjoyed playing the build. I enjoyed building the build. But something about this, I didn't enjoy any of it. So I'm going to sell this piece of armor, which is pretty good. +1 to maximum resistances. +1 to socketed gems. I'll try to sell this. I don't know if I'll get any money for it. Now for shields, I got a couple other options. I was using this just because I could put haste, zealotry, and discipline all in there. And it basically caps out my life. So that's 3 free auras basically. Then over here I got grace and wrath. And Arctic Armor if I want to use Arctic Armor. But I got a couple of other shields that might be pretty rad to use with it. I gotta find them. I slapped them somewhere in my disgusting inventory. One of them is a... Oh, I think I might actually put them up for sale. Yeah, this one. Socket of Gems have 30% increased reservation efficiency, 93% increased critical strike chance for spells, 74 life, regenerate life, mana, energy shield. So that would be one shield I was using. I was also using this one, which has critical strike chance for spells, mana, +1 to level of lightning spells. So both of these were generating way, way more power. But I was trying to solve the survivability problem with this shield. And the survivability problem still isn't solved. I think a big part of that might be my chaos resistance. So I'd have to cap out my chaos resistance somehow. I got a chaos ring to help just a little bit. But I just had to re-gear in order to max out that chaos. As I was gearing, I kept getting more and more resistance. You can see I'm super overcapped. And that's not good to be that much overcapped. So I'd be able, in order to make this build work, get a little more mana, obviously level it to 100 instead of 91, get way more chaos resistances, then you're probably pretty solid. Now for my flask, Bottled Faith, pricey. This, not very pricey, but it works well for mapping. And then I was dying from elemental damage a lot. So I figured I'd run a Topaz, a Sapphire, and a Amethyst. And then this one is obviously a Ruby. So I'm taking reduced damage of lightning, cold, and fire, and chaos. Well, this isn't reduced chaos damage. It's just chaos resistances. So that is Project AoE, is what I was going to call it. But I think Project Throw That Nova works better. Throw that Nova. That is all. I'm going to do a preview for the next build. Preview for the next build is... I forget what it... There it is. Blood Thirst Support. I don't even know if anyone's ever used it. I've never used it. So let's go. POE Ninja. Let's see if anyone is using Bloodthirst Support. Bloodthirst Support. Looks like we got a few people using it. Well, we got a Bone Shatter boy. Alright, it gets use. I didn't think it got that much use. Man, we got a couple. Oh, damn, this guy right here. Alright, I might have to switch my build. He might already be doing it. Void Forge. I'm not going to be using Void Forge, but... yeah, he's basically doing my build that I wanted to do. And he's probably doing it better. Let's see. What's his skill? Rage Vortex. Oh, yeah, this build is solid. Good old Rage Vortex build. Yeah, this is definitely a good build. Pricey. Pricey build. I wonder what this costs now, Progenesis. Progenesis would be pretty good, I think, for the build I'm using now. Maybe. Actually, that would probably make me lose a lot of there. Oh, he's using that too. Yeah, I plan on using that as well. A life stacker. But he looks like he's not going full life. I'm going to memify it, and I'm not going to get any of this two-handed damage here. I'm just going to go full life. I'm going to stack as much life as possible. I don't know how much that'll be, but I'm going to try to hit like 13,000 or something crazy like that. Anyways, that is all. Check you later.